Welcome, everyone. Happy Thursday. I think it's Thursday. I'm Claire Jones. I'm a queer fantasy romance author, as well as a small publisher that helps other writers get their works shared with the world. And we are jumping on for my Marketing as Authors podcast, where I interview the amazing and inspiring authors in my network to discuss the marketing strategies that have hopefully propelled our careers forward in meaningful ways. We'll get into that. If you're joining us, please like, comment, share below. Let us know that you're here. And today I'm talking to Natania. I'm so glad to have you.
So glad to be here. Very exciting.
Yeah, I'm getting into my stretch of Worldcon peeps for these
Yes.
podcasts, and I'm like, yay!
Fabulous. We had a great panel on romantasy. It was really rad.
It went much better than I was actually expecting it
Well,
to.
you did a great job. I mean, we're all passionate about the work that we do, and it was neat to have the full range of people kind of experiencing it in different modes and modalities. So,
Yeah, that was my most active virtual audience for any of
mhm.
the panels that I did, which was surprising. But people love romantasy these
They
days.
do. They do.
I mean, it's having a moment. It's
It
having.
is having I mean, I will argue that it's been here. It's just we marketed it well. Someone, the word, however it started, whatever, person just kind of mushed that word together. People
Yeah,
have glommed onto it. And
yeah,
hey, if it helps sell books, I'm here.
yeah. I mean, if I were them, I would look into trademarking it. Make a little money off of that.
Yeah.
Well, give us a rundown of your books. What are they? How many? So on and so forth.
Sure. So I've got a lot. I've been publishing, my goal was to publish my first novel by 30, which I did, which looking back was kind of a ridiculous, arbitrary thing.
Sure.
But I debuted in very end of 2011, early 2012. Um, I think it was, yes, that would make sense. I was doing the time in my head with a book called Pilgrim of the Sky, which was a portal fantasy myth punk. So it was like the main character goes into this other parallel world. There's like all these people who are like mirror images, so kind of that sort of almost doppelganger thing.
Yeah.
But the people she meets are called godlings, so they're kind of like they're sort of the embodiment of various gods and sort of if you combine a lot of the pantheons, the gods that sort of fall into similar analogs, right? So that
I
that
mean,
was
I am
that.
absolutely enamored with this idea.
So that was my debut. It was through a small press. I've been writing for a really long time, so I have a lot of books that were not published, but I did a follow-up with that with Falstaff Books and a couple of other books, including a book called These Marvelous Beasts, which is three novellas about basically it's the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, but
Hmm.
with queer monsters. So
Oh my God, I need to read your entire back catalog.
it's very fun. I every once in a while someone comes up to me. Someone came up to me at Worldcon actually with that copy, and it was like, oh, that's really lovely.
Yeah.
And then I published a book called Queen of None, which is the first in my Queens of Fate series, which is the retelling of Arthur through the eyes of women in the thing, also very queer. And I published that through a publisher who unfortunately folded. This is the
Mhm.
story of so many people's lives.
Yeah.
Through absolute serendipity, the editor of Solaris Books, David Thomas Moore, who's my editor now, found me on Twitter the day that I mentioned that this previous one was folded. And he's like, would you be interested in republishing with us? And we'd probably like to buy the other books. So
Amazing.
that was cool. And so that series came to conclusion in July. And it's both a family saga, right? Everyone's related. It's uncles and children and wives and daughters and all of that. And it takes place over about 20 years. So you see little babies in the first book
Mm.
become grown-up people in the third book. And that's what most people know me for because I had the biggest release in terms of volume and reviews and everything. And then the story of my heart, which was written during the pandemic, is the Love and Netherford series, which is
Mhm.
my super queer series,
Mhm.
which I say is like basically a sapphic Pride and Prejudice with witches.
Mm.
So
Nice.
if you liked Bridgerton and you were like, this should be gay and full of magic, that's pretty
Yes,
much what I did.
absolutely.
It's definitely it moves toward cozy. There's some stakes, but they're like everything's going to turn out okay.
All
All
right.
the
I have to
people
go
fighting are
update my TBR and change everything.
And so the two of those have released now. The third, I just handed into my editor with apologies for being late because of everything happening on being on fire and all of that. My
Yeah.
mom tried to die in like not on purpose, but she got incredibly sick out of nowhere. And then my dad got sick. So it's been like, sorry. But the last one, The Game of Hearts, hopefully will be out early next year, is my guess,
Mm.
through Solaris as well. So they bought two, three-book series, which, if you're doing the math, was about 6 books over 2 years, which I know you have a very aggressive schedule as well, but I don't recommend that volume
Yeah, that's a
with all
quick
of those deadlines.
turnaround.
It is, especially in Trad Pub. So
Yeah, I was thinking, I'm like, next year? I was like, that's almost
yeah.
unheard of. And
So yeah, and those books they're doing rapid release. So they
okay.
don't go, so that's with the Love and Netherford books. They don't quite go through the full gamut of reviews, and they're done sort of on a small press model.
Oh, okay.
So they're able to get them out really fast with the sort of focus on ebooks, right?
Yeah.
But the print books are beautiful as well. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell. And if people don't know me through that, I am a fashion historian.
Mm,
So I share a lot about fashion and things and how world building. I'm also one-third of the World Building for Masochists podcast, which
mm,
lost to Hugo again this year, by a
mm,
very razor thin margin.
mm.
But I get to talk to two of my favorite people every other week about how to world build fantasy and science fiction worlds. So
Amazing.
yeah.
Amazing. I'm surprised you weren't on the cultural influences panel for WorldCon.
Yeah, I mean, I was on so many panels at Worldcon, so I'm kind of grateful. But yeah, I joke that I must have been a seat warmer because my list of panels was so varied. It
Uh,
was all over the place, which was fun. But I'm like, they must have been like, hey, Natania's got ADHD and she knows a lot about random things about 1 inch deep, so we'll just put her on the
ah,
fungi like thing, and then the one about Pictish designs. And I'm a medievalist by my education, so I guess I found my way to quite a few of these, but yeah,
yeah.
love talking about this kind of stuff for sure.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. The cultural influences panel I was moderating, and it was the last panel on Sunday. It was like 4:30 on Sunday.
Wow,
And
you
by the
brave
time
soul.
I got to it, I was like, I don't even know how to introduce myself anymore. I was like, I'm Claire. What do you want to know about me?
I'm a living human in a seat. That's all we're gonna get.
And then all the panelists said much better introductions, and I was sitting there like, oh my God. But at least I asked good questions.
Yes, yes, you do. Yeah, was
So
awesome.
you're exclusively trad pub, yeah?
Yeah, small press and traditional proud. Yep. I do not have the time to be self-pubbed.
Mhm.
I absolutely am in awe of the hustle that is needed. But I work a very full-time job in marketing, and I have a special needs child and two parents who are divorced and in need of a lot of stuff. So it's super helpful for me. I also found my agent on Twitter. So that was also like, that doesn't happen. That's not usually like my
Oh.
entire progression was just like up and down and up and down. And this is never going to happen. And just, like many of us say, all you can do is continue to write.
Mm-hmm.
And then hope that other things happen.
Yeah.
Um, and we're seeing so much back and forth between traditional and self pub, and people buying and crossing things, and then people who've been traditional pub for years going to self publishing. So it's a very interesting time to be an author. But
It
you still
is.
have to do a shit ton of marketing for yourself, even when you're traditionally published. So
Yeah.
that part I still have to do, but I don't have to worry about book formatting and all of that stuff. That can be someone else taking care of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Because I think when you were entering, like back in 2011, did you say? Like self-pub wasn't really even an
No,
option back then.
it was starting, but it was like companies like Lulu were
Mm.
were doing it, and it felt much more like a pyramid scheme. Or it felt like it was, well, they called them vanity presses
Yeah.
initially,
Yeah.
right? And so you'd pay a couple $1,000s to do a small print run, but
Yeah.
the technology caught up with this, and then people realized, oh wow, we're just cutting out a lot of literal red tape that
Yeah.
that comes with a lot of this stuff. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. But you're happy with trad pub.
Yes, I've been very, very lucky despite folks folding.
Mm.
Um, and I have had wonderful designers for covers and a lot of really good support. So I can't complain. I'm lucky. I know so many horror stories. It's yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
tough out there.
It is. And one of the reasons why I invite both self-pub and trad pub authors to this podcast is because you still have to do your own marketing.
You do. You do.
And that is one of the biggest myths about trad pub. And I love that you just brought that up from the get-go.
Well, yeah, I mean, like I said, my professional life, I've been doing marketing for 20 years. So, I naturally want to do it because I find it fun, but it's also exhausting when I'm doing it all day for my job and then come here. And it was really the rise of social media, and TikTok just made it worse, is that publishers are not going to invest if they think you can possibly go viral, right? And they'll do what they need to. But even, I mean, some folks do, like someone was telling me their big publisher did one Instagram post
Yeah.
for their entire thing,
Yeah.
entire book. So, you know, I don't want to go down thinking, oh, I could have done more to get
Yeah.
this out there. So
Yeah.
you've got to do the thing where arrange podcast interviews, you ask to do blog tours. I've done interviews on Instagram. I love book talk. I think it's fantastic. Whatever sells more books, and I like that the sort of it's kind of equalized now. It's just about good stories that capture people. And I think that that's something that big publishing has kind of forgotten.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
so many books are popular because they invested in the marketing.
Yeah.
That's really, like, you read them and you're like, it's fine, it's
Yeah.
good, but
Yeah.
it's not that good,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I mean, that's honestly what encouraged me to start writing fiction, is
Hmm.
because the amount of bad books that I've read
Yeah.
over the
Yeah.
course of my life.
Yep.
Like, I was like, I am somewhat confident that I can write a better book than some of the books that I've
Hmm.
read out there. And yet they
Yeah.
still end up on bookstore shelves. They still end up on library shelves, on home shelves.
Yep. There is a lot of there's still a lot of nepotism, cronyism, like, secret handshakes. People just know the right, like, knowing the right people is great. I try to just make friends and connections and be a genuine person. And to quote Will Wheaton, don't be a dick, like, but that's really hard for some people. So I've also, I've been in this long enough to see people sort of like accelerate and then crash, right? It's
Mhm.
real.
Yeah.
Most people only, if you're going to publish, they only publish one book.
Yes.
So, which is a crazy statistic to me because I've been writing books since I was 11, right?
Yeah.
Because to me, the process of writing is the most rewarding part. Like, absolutely
Mhm.
amazing when someone connects with it, and it's makes my day, week, everything. But I process the world through my writing. I
Mhm.
process my emotions. I'm neurodivergent. My therapist says it's fine. he said, he said as long as he says not destructive. Like, so what if I don't express myself exactly the way that, most people do? I am making art with it, right? And
Mhm.
that's perfectly legitimate. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
So writing definitely came first, and then
yes.
you chose marketing as a career. Like, how did that
Yeah.
shift happen?
So, oh, life is funny, but I was a huge J.R.R. Tolkien fan.
Mm.
I loved C.S. Lewis growing up. I wanted to be a medievalist. Like, the first time I heard that word, I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to study the stories of the Middle Ages because I've always loved that stuff. And I got all the way through to my master's program, and where I was studying King Arthur, literally. So when people are like, no, I have a degree in King Arthur,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not, doesn't say that, but that's actually what I studied.
Yeah.
And I was interviewing for a PhD position. And I had one of those just life-changing moments where I realized that I didn't love it
Mm.
anymore. And
Mm.
the interview went wonderfully. They were like, this is amazing. We can't wait to see you come in here. We'd love to continue to support your research and this, that, and the other thing. And I had just had a baby. And I'm much more of a researcher. And there's really not space anymore in academia to make a living researching, especially medieval manuscripts. There's
Yeah.
just not a lot of funding in it.
Yeah.
And I also fell in love with North Carolina. And I was like, to get a job as a medieval professor, which is already incredibly competitive, I'd pretty much have to move anywhere. And I really
Mm.
didn't want to. So I fell sideways into marketing because I got a job writing content and
Mm.
found out I could make $30 an hour. And I
Mm.
was like, for all the times that I badmouthed communications and marketing in college, I was like, you know what? It turns out I actually like making money and providing for my child. And so much of marketing is about storytelling. And
Yeah.
so I'm still able to do that in my day job. My vertical is clinical research. So it's not the glorious, sexy part, but it's really cool because it's about bringing, important medications to patients who may not have any hope.
Yeah.
And it's complicated and it's super
Yeah.
scientific, but I love the challenge of it. And um, I worked in the video game industry. I worked all over the place, but this is kind of where I found my home. My dad is a rare disease patient, so it's like
Mm.
I'll never be a doctor, but it's kind of cool that I get to kind of go to work every day and know that I'm helping patients like my dad.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, because I think the intricacy level is the same as medievalism, you know.
oh yeah, you have to have a certain kind of brain.
Yeah,
I was telling someone at work today, I was like, I could have been a pharmacist because I have a brain that retains drug names for some reason. Maybe it's like fantasy names. I don't know.
yeah,
My husband, do not ask him.
yeah,
He's like, acetaminophen? What is that? I'm like, that's literally Tylenol.
yeah, yeah,
How do you remember these things? I don't know. My brain has decided that this is an important thing.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, it happened to work out really well for me. And I remember when I first started writing, I was kind of jealous of people that had, you know, husbands making a ton of money and they could just focus on writing.
Mm,
Um, or wives or whatever. And then over time, as the market has changed, as the industry has changed, I see so many people re-entering the workforce because they need retirement
yeah,
and they need the stability of jobs. And,
yep,
as again, as my therapist says, he's like, I know you would in your mind you'd love to work full time on the writing, but he's like,
yep,
I bet if you didn't have the structure of your job, you wouldn't write as much. And I'm like, God damn it, you're right. So a
yeah.
little bit of order in the chaos has been really helpful for me. And I don't write a ton. I mean, people are like, how do you have the time? I'm like, I write about 500 words a day. It's like one novel a year.
Okay.
Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. Sometimes I'm in the zone and it's like, I can't get it out fast enough. But I used to be such a stickler about, you know, meeting my word count and everything like that. And I found that for me in my life right now, the best thing to do is to focus on getting the best 500 words I can write in a day so
Mm,
that I'm not editing like hell the next day I sit down to it
yeah,
and I can just keep the momentum going.
yeah, yeah. Honestly, I think that it's almost like an obsession with that daily word count that a lot of writers have, and
Yes.
it's verging on unhealthy, in
Yeah.
my opinion.
It's good practice. Like if you really I've said this a lot. I've had to reinvent the way I write multiple times throughout my life.
Mm,
You know, how I write, what time I write, the tools that I use to write, the inspiration that I have to write, all of these things. Because you're not the same forever. I used to write 10,000 words a day. Like my arms were falling off. It was horrific.
yeah,
Um, I don't need to do that anymore. I don't need to, and I think I don't need to prove to myself that I can do it. Like
yeah,
it's about enjoying that time that I'm there and writing the next best book I can write,
yeah,
right? That's
yeah.
essentially my biggest goal.
Yeah, yeah. I think my record is 30,000 in a weekend, and I don't want to ever do that again.
No, no, there's a reason I got carpal tunnel. So I literally also just have to be more careful. Like
Yeah.
I can't, my limit when I'm like super deadline or whatever, my limit is about 2,500 words a day. If I do
Mm,
pretty much more than that, I'll end up in just bad
mm,
pain,
mm.
bad pain.
Yeah. And you have that like office typing job too, which I think absolutely contributes to that.
Yes.
Like if I sit in this chair for too long, I lose
Yes.
my marbles. Like my writing chair is in that room.
Oh, I love that. That's a good idea. Yeah, I was thinking about that because I work from home 100% now. So,
Hmm.
and I was thinking, I have a chair over there. I should just take my other computer,
Yeah.
go right over there. And I was like,
Yeah.
I can do that.
Yeah. I have a really slow Air MacBook that I inherited from a friend, and it's the only thing I write on because it's so slow that I can't get distracted by the internet.
That's brilliant though. That's brilliant. But I need the internet. That's my problem is like when I'm writing, I'm a discovery writer. So it's like I know that the big sketches, but especially if I'm writing historical fantasy,
Yeah, that's hard.
I'm not good at the whole like insert thing here. That's just
Yeah.
not how my brain works. I wish it did. It's
Yeah.
like people who write out of sequence. I have so much respect for them. Like
I can't
they're
do that.
geniuses of another level. Like I
No.
am purely linear.
Yeah.
When I'm editing, I'm a chaos monster. I'm all over the place. But yeah, I have to have that's just a process that my brain has decided is the correct way.
And I like that we can change as we go
Mhm.
too. Like I was thinking about that as you were talking. Like that's I think what a job can't provide at the end of the day is like the changing of the processes on a
Yep.
project by project basis.
Yep.
And that in itself is a type of creative freedom too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
love
have
it.
you been happy with what you've been able to achieve so far?
Oh, absolutely.
Are there any
Absolutely.
heights that you're trying to aim for?
I mean, the big thing for me was getting a positive review in Kirkus because that's one of
Mm,
those mags that just
yeah.
it's hard to crack. And my
Yeah.
first book was very polarizing,
Mm,
and I was pregnant
Mm,
when I went through the full review gamut, and it was
mm,
really hard. It was like,
mm.
and you're not supposed to read it, but whatever, you do anyway. So that was like a big thing for me. I would love to write more King Arthur stories. It's the thing about the whole world is that there's just so many fractal possibilities. And there's some stories that I really wish that I could do. And I'm also branching out into nonfiction. So my agent currently has a proposal for a book on the history of perfume. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like a pop science, but very heavily researched um, approach to it. A lot that's very like kind of funny and a little bit tongue in cheek, but also
Yeah.
well researched because everything out there, like it became a hyper fixation for me about 3 years ago. So I guess it's now like a special interest. I think I graduated. But what's really fascinating is that looking at the market, everything is so serious and it's so
Yes.
luxury driven. And it's
Yeah.
like, come on, we're talking about like literally animal butts. Like
Yeah.
half of the smells that we like, we found in the butt of an animal. Like
Mhm. Yeah. Pheromones.
perennial glands. Like, I mean, it's
Hmm.
not even like this.
Hmm.
So I think having a sense of humor is fun that way. And eventually I do want to do some fashion history. I did this first. It's very adjacent to fashion history because a lot of perfume actually was sold by
Yeah.
modistes and stuff, and gloves used to be perfumed and hats and stuff. So it was a good practice to kind of put together. So fingers crossed for that.
Yeah.
I'm a guest of honor at a con at retcon here in North Carolina in March, which was a
Amazing.
cool little thing. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I kind of try not to think too much about the next thing because I just really want to write that next best book. That's finding the time. I was really happy after this is my fourth week at my new job. This week I finally got into the okay, here's my writing cadence because
Mhm.
when you're starting in a new job, you're
Yeah.
just getting
Yeah.
like the fire hose. I was
Yeah.
like, my brain feels overclocked. Like every day after work, it's like my brain is running hot.
Yeah.
And I would just like crash. So to me, that's the best victory ever is just the feeling the next morning where you're like, oh, I wrote yesterday. I did it.
Mm.
And I'm not on deadline right now. So I'm also like for the first time in 2.5 years. So I'm really enjoying, I can just write whatever I want to write right now.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good feeling. And I do love a nonfiction book that has funny footnotes. If
Yes.
you can give me funny footnotes that actually make me laugh, you have me hooked.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I think that we need more of that in nonfiction, and especially
Absolutely.
with things like fashion and fragrance. It's actually incredibly accessible. And it
Yeah.
turns out people have always wanted to not stink. And we love things that
Yeah.
smell good. But it's
Yeah.
also incredibly unique. Like people can smell the same thing and have vastly different experiences.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And
it's
it
pretty
removes
wild.
that barrier of entry too for readers.
Yeah, just have fun. I love nonfiction, and a good nonfiction book to me is just as exciting
Yeah.
as, a romantasy.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Not as
Absolutely.
spicy usually, but
I mean, right now I am reading Pleasure Activism, which
ooh,
is a nonfiction book, and it is very spicy.
spicy. Yes, I imagine. I imagine.
And it is wonderful. I'm literally like 20 pages in, and I'm like, I'm already in love with this book.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's great.
So let's shift into the marketing
Sure.
conversation. How did it change from the beginning of your career to now?
Well, I feel old because we just didn't have the tools when I first started.
Mhm.
So, 2011, 2012, I mean, really, Twitter was where I was, like in terms of I can really only manage like one or two social networks at a time. Same thing with Discord servers. It's too many and then I forget they exist, like object permanence. So it was much more traditional my first time around. I didn't have book assets. I didn't have digital covers, like, I mean, it
Mhm.
really was like, you'll see the book when it gets here.
Mhm.
Um, but then by the time I was over at Falstaff, I actually do book cover design as well. So I
Mhm.
designed the covers of my books there. And all of a sudden, Canva was here, right? You have all
Yes.
these tools and templates, and it was so much easier to work with publishers to get key art and things like that. So that's the huge difference, and as well as like sort of the organization of social media. At the
Mhm.
beginning, there was no Hootsuite, there was no Sprout Social, there were none of these, tools built to help you plan things or like do things in advance. So that's been the biggest change. But I do think for a lot of people, the move from, I'm typing my answers to stuff to the pressure to be on video
Mm,
has been really, I've talked to a lot of folks and they're just like, you're so good
yeah.
on video. Like, I can't do it. I hate it. And I was like, listen, I'm a theater kid with no outlet anymore. So I'm like, it's cringe as hell. I'm sure my daughter's just like, I hate every time mom comes across my TikTok, but it's kind of important to be there a little bit at least.
Yeah.
Um,
And it takes practice. That's the thing
it
that I
does.
try to
It
tell
does.
people. Like, I did not become this charming and good on camera overnight.
Yes. But also, if you really hate it, and I've done actually some panels on marketing, one of my cardinal rules is if you hate it, don't do
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
because it's going to be obvious to everyone.
Yeah.
Find the channels that work for you.
Yeah.
I have friends who Facebook is where everything happens for them.
Hmm.
Absolutely everything. For me, it was,
Hmm.
I could never get my foot in the door. It was like I could, my personal account, I could, but I could never make the transition over.
Yeah.
It now Blue Sky is pretty much where I am most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And that just tends to be my audiences, people who are into the things that I'm into and want to read about queer witches and so we'll see how long all of that lasts. But find where you're comfortable, where it doesn't feel like a chore. And also don't just be so in your face. I mean, I had to tell a couple friends of mine, like, don't just schedule promotion treats to go out automatically every couple of hours. It's really obnoxious and people are going to unfollow you.
Yeah.
Give people a reason, like give a personality behind it because personality drives so much book sales.
Yes.
Unless again, you have like a huge, huge market and you can just do whatever you want. And if you're Stephen King, you don't even need to do social media,
Well,
right?
I mean, yeah, that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah, he's interesting, to say the least. So yeah, I think that it's we have the tools now to be our own little marketing departments. We have so many tutorials that are out there now. I've become a convert to Figma instead of
Mm.
Canva, which
Mm.
is really great for doing different sizes of things all at once and then having kind
Mm.
of like key art that you use for other things. Um, so that's been really helpful. I'm always trying to find the next new tool.
Mm.
Um, AI is challenging and I won't wade into all of that. Obviously, generative AI sucks, just
Yes,
period, full stop.
absolutely. Yeah.
But I have found as a research tool, as long as I'm double checking my research and I'm doing
Yes.
things, very, very helpful. Also great for brainstorming. Give me 10 topics to talk about writing that haven't been around very much.
Hmm.
And sometimes they're stupid, but most of the time they're fine and you can kind of riff on them, right?
Hmm.
It's also helpful, it was helpful for me in nonfiction to like show me some examples of a good nonfiction outline
Hmm.
that I could basically, and it's no different than finding them online. It's just a little more tailored to you. So um, it's a nuanced conversation. It's always hard to talk about this stuff
It is.
because people want to just say all or nothing. The truth is that it is, we've been using AI for a long time. Like spell check is literally a large language model, right?
Sure.
Predictive text, all of these things. You've got to decide, where you're comfortable using it. I have to learn a lot about it for my day job.
Yeah.
There's no
I
escaping
bet.
working in marketing right now without
I bet.
knowing about everything that's happening. And I will tell you, most of them are selling you a bag of shit. I'm
Yes.
sorry, can we swear?
Yes, this is
Okay,
definitely
okay,
swear friendly. I
okay,
cuss all the time.
okay. I have tried them, I have tested them, and it gives you more work. It's like
Yes.
it's almost like you hire that person who says that they're great, and then they hand you the first thing, and you're like, I'm gonna have to redo everything that you gave me. And
Yep.
actually, it would have been easier to just do it myself.
Yep.
So building those high skills is really important. Photoshop is always like image manipulation tools, vector art, all of that stuff, super important to know. And video, like my daughter, it's incredible. She's 13 and she's using CapCut and things to make,
Yes.
these, I mean, she spends hours
Yeah.
getting the music to sync and like
Yeah.
picking all the clips. So I think that that's those of us who are not Gen Z are going to be at a disadvantage
Yeah.
because they're like producing almost like I mean, really, really nice level stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think
And once you
that's the
even
biggest difference.
And when you bring in like the AI video editing tools too that
Yep.
exist out there, like the things they can do are,
Yeah. On their phones too. Like I thought
yeah,
in the past, like I had to download like, all of these tools to use, like these huge
yeah,
graphics tools like
yeah,
Premiere Pro and all of that stuff. And they're just literally doing it on their phones.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that's really the biggest difference. But ultimately the most important part is getting people interested about the work that you do, right? And it's not just that that book is good, right? It's also that you're an interesting person that came to this book for a reason. Like, why
mm,
did you write this book?
mm,
Not buy my book, buy my book, buy my book.
Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
try to aim for like 10% promotion and 90% just the crap coming out of my brain.
Hmm.
And it's nice to be on Blue Sky without an algorithm. I find when I do promote stuff,
Yeah.
I get so much more traction.
Yeah.
And like people are like, I didn't know you had a book. I'm like, oh my God. Okay, well,
Hello.
but that's the thing is like people also have very, very short attention spans, and
Yes.
it needs to be in front of them over and over and over again. That
Hmm.
repetition is super important. I was just lecturing someone at work about this. It's like you can't just put a piece of art, like, content out there and expect that people are going to come back to it. You have to put it in front of their
No.
faces over and
Yeah.
over and over again.
One of my favorite books when it comes to the marketing and launch cycle is Fanatical Prospecting. Have you ever read
Oh
that?
no. Mm-mm.
He did a very thorough analysis as to how many touch points it takes to engage with you
Oh wow. Yeah.
based on their level of familiarity with you. Like, is it a completely cold, or are you
Right.
middle level? Are they middle level and looking for something? Or are they middle level and not looking for something right now? Like, he breaks it
Yes.
down
That's so cool. Yeah.
all
Are you interrupting?
process.
I talk about interruptive marketing all the time. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, you can like get in someone's face with something, but they're not going to react necessarily positively about that.
Yeah.
You're also competing with people's friends and family, right?
Yeah.
Like they're gonna
Yeah.
want, that's why I post pictures of my dog because he's the best. But people also interact with my dogs and my flowers and the thing and the holidays I bake thousands of cookies and I share pictures of cookies, right?
Yeah.
That's I think that access level is the fun part about being a writer right now is that you get to know a person beyond that.
Yeah.
But you don't have to. Like, I mean, that's the other thing too. Like, it can still work. I've still seen people that have almost zero presence and somehow someone just picked up their book and it became a viral hit,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And we still have people we don't even know who they really are,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's always an exception.
Were your publishers supportive when it came to identifying your audience, or was that something you had to do on your own?
I think I kind of brought it with me because
Hmm.
I had such a massive audience on Twitter,
Mm,
which over time I've almost caught up on Blue Sky. Um, and I had just, I had good connections with writers for blurbs and like all of that stuff. So it wasn't, but I've definitely gotten on the radar of people that I never would have seen before.
mm,
Because there are a lot of readers that just don't bother with the online banter,
yeah.
and that's also fine. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it's all about finding your people that you can nerd out with.
Mhm.
I say that all the time to people, like, you're supposed to be having fun, honestly. Like,
Yeah.
your version of fun is being an introverted, isolated hermit in a cabin in the woods in the middle of
Hmm.
nowhere. Great.
Yeah.
But there are people out there that share that interest
Hmm.
and are going to be very happy that you share that interest.
Exactly. Exactly.
And so when you find your tribe, like, it becomes a blast to
Hmm.
interact with them.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny too, because like the fashion stuff that I've done tends to attract queer women like
Mhm.
me with similar having had similar careers, having had similar experiences, and those are the people I'm writing for. Like
Mhm.
I didn't think about it strategically. I was
Mhm.
just sharing the research I was doing for my books,
Mhm.
because I was finding out all this cool stuff that I didn't know, and then now I can talk about this stuff on a very deep level because I don't know how to research something in like a shallow way, like all or nothing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that crossover passion, begets passion. Like people love seeing the enthusiasm, especially in the current world that we're in.
Yeah.
It's so important to still find joy
Yeah.
and excitement in those things.
Yeah. 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 And these people do grow to know, like, and trust you
Mhm.
over time. And it's like, I'm all for relationship-based marketing
Yeah,
more
yeah,
so
absolutely.
than just the quantity of numbers, because this is something we talked about in the last podcast. Like, there are thousands of stories of influencers who try to launch products to their millions of followers and fail spectacularly.
Yes,
And it because it comes off as false.
it does. Yeah. Yeah. Because, well, and the goal for a lot of folks, I think, is to be published rather than to be a writer,
Mm,
which is a very different thing.
yeah,
And it's okay if it's different, but
sure.
understand that social contract, like people can see through that social contract.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And if it is ego driven, people recognize
Yeah.
that. And certain people are going to respect that. Some certain people
Yeah.
are going to disrespect that. So it's again finding the people that that aligns with
Hmm.
when you are looking for your audiences.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the absolute coolest thing is, unexpectedly someone reaching out and just saying, this book changed my life, or I felt like you wrote this book for me, or, I had someone write me, will record me a voice message that was like a 10-minute message, just
Oh
like, and
man.
it was just like, that's, I guess just incredible. Like books changed my life.
Hmm.
And I hope to continue to write books that can potentially have people see themselves as a hero, see
Hmm.
themselves in these characters that I talk to in my head.
Hmm. Yeah. So would you say you're more content based when it comes to marketing efforts?
Yeah, I mean, it's been interesting because I used to blog all the time. And
Mm.
I made so many early relationships because it was just as social media was taking off.
Yeah.
So you literally would meet people in the comment section of a
Yeah.
blog. Like
Yeah.
it feels like it was just like a million years ago.
Yeah.
But I really stepped back from that a bit because I just a number of reasons. I haven't been posting as much on social media either because I just feel like with everything, I just don't know what to say sometimes, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, you
Yeah.
don't need one more person weighing in on this
Yep.
conversation,
Yep.
or I'm so mad that everything I'm writing is just spitting. So
Yep.
what I've been focusing on is try to put my energy into the writing, right?
Yeah.
Into the projects, finish getting my book submitted to my agent, getting this proposal out the door, starting this new thing, working on planning and research. Um, it'll get better, but in the meantime, I love sharing fun facts. Like I learned yesterday, I didn't know this. I don't know how I didn't know this, but I think there's more than one. But in this particular case, there's an Irish knight uh, named Sir Marach, whose wife cursed him to be a werewolf for 7 years in Mallory. And I'd never heard that. I mean, I've been studying King Arthur for 20 years, and I was like, what is her story?
Yeah. Good for her.
And also only 7 years, like,
Well,
girl,
seven is one of those numbers
yes, it
too.
is. It is.
Yeah. Isn't that like with the swan? Wasn't that
A
seven?
lot of sevens, sevens,
Yeah.
threes, 12s, any multiple of three,
Yeah.
seven. But yes, so I think there's something very powerful about also making your own rules of what you can control.
Mhm.
Because like many people, I will get sucked into the doom scrolling, and then
Yes.
I'll be like, I spent all this entire evening just, and
Yes.
now I feel like shit.
Yes.
So, spending more time with my friends, I've done a lot more in-person stuff lately than I used to do as well.
Same here.
So, but again, it's about flexibility. So it is content. It's just more micro content. It used to be long treatises on stuff, and now it's
Mhm.
very rare but I kind of feel like in a lot of ways, I blogged for so long. I've said most of the things that I would say. Um, so yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I
But I do a
mean,
lot of visual too. And I love, in my regular job, I do creative direction and videos. I love working on video and animation and stuff like that. So
mm, yeah. And I think there's a time and place for holding space for what's going on
yes.
and just being like, all right, I am going to just be constant and steady in what
Hmm.
I do and how I behave and
Yeah.
I interact with everything that's going on because there's enough people panicking.
Hmm.
There's
Yeah.
enough people who are, reactively reacting to
Hmm.
what's going on. Um, it's wild.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm definitely not saying I'm grateful for my parents being sick, but I will say that in the last 3 months, where it's been back and forth between parents that are incredibly ill and in pain and needing me to be the health advocate, the power of attorney, all of this stuff, it does narrow to the parts that really matter. And when I'm feeling despair and my friends are feeling despair, I'm always like, let's start with each other, right?
Mhm.
Really start with those communities. I love the Stoics for their, as one of the folks that I follow was saying today, like, Socrates lived during some of the what is it, 30 tyrants, and many of these philosophers were living in like the time of Nero, like I mean, people being dragged out into the middle of the night and slaughtered regularly, right?
Yeah.
So it's not the first time in history that demagogues and oligarchs have tried to, silence people, hurt people, all of this stuff. But the only thing that we can do is control the things we can control. And that goes back to writing, to supporting. I'm always going to be fierce about supporting my friends and making sure that their work, and their lives are so. I have a friend whose cat is dying, and that doesn't seem like, oh, it's just a cat. I'm like, no, this is her
Yeah.
soul friend,
Yeah.
and so I'm going to share the crap out of that so that she
Yeah.
can get some respite from what is very, very traumatic. And same with I see this all the time, folks getting sick and not having the money to pay for their bills. And if we start with our community and lift those people up, then our energy stores can, it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? If you're just worried about surviving and eating, then that's
Yeah.
not a good place to be. So
And I
anything.
think that care extends to our readers too.
Yes, yes.
Because as creatives, one of our most important jobs is to evoke emotion.
Hmm.
And it's not just to evoke, violent emotion
Hmm.
or strong emotion or overwhelming emotion. It can also be calming. It can also be
Yes, yes.
like a hug. That's why the found family trope is just
Oh,
so
amazing.
popular.
Yeah, well, so many of us felt, I mean, we won't get into the full details, but like many people, I had quite a um traumatic upbringing in church and feeling as a queer person that I had no place there. I thought I invented bisexuality because I was part of a church that said you were gay or you're straight. And I was very, very, you know, sheltered. I just had I had no language, which is why I feel like language is so important and why
Yeah.
tyrants always attack language. But when
Yeah.
I finally had a word for what I was like, oh, this isn't just a new way to piss God off. Like this is just like this is a thing that people are. And
Yeah.
but it took me years to get the poison out of my own system
Yeah.
and be able to be out and proud and supportive. And that you reminded me when I was at Armadillo Con, I was on a panel called Writing is Resistance. I know
Mm,
we weren't necessarily going into the political sphere, but right now it feels like it's everywhere. And there's this quote by Ursula K. Le Guin that's very often attributed to Tolkien, which is
mm,
like really annoying to me because
yeah.
girl needs her due and she's
Yeah.
amazing. And Tolkien has enough. But I'm going to read it really quickly because I have it right
Yeah.
here. And this is kind of my thing about this. Fantasy is escapist, and that is its glory. If a
Mm,
soldier is imprisoned by the enemy, don't we consider it his duty to escape? The moneylenders, the know-nothings, the authoritarians have us all in prison. If we value the freedom of the mind and the soul, if we are partisans of liberty, then it's our plain duty to escape and to take as many people with us as we can.
yes.
And it's like that is so profound to me because what better gift can you give someone than turning off their brain and letting them imagine another world?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that that's ultimately, it's not even marketing at that point.
No, no, it's
Community
vocation.
building.
Yes.
Yeah. Vocation, community building. It's doing good in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's
And
lifting other people up, right?
exactly. And I think that that's just resonating so much more with people these days because corporations have devalued us for decades, and it's
Yep.
increasingly so in the devaluation of
Yep.
us. And people are sick of being treated as non-valuable, numbered
Hmm.
consumers.
Yep. And that's the big thing. One of the quotes that haunts me from because I social media was how I got really into marketing, how I kind of walked my way into having this great career as a senior director and all of this stuff and having a team. And but I remember it might have been Cory Doctorow. It was someone around that time. I used to, read Boing Boing all the time and like it really into that. And it was, I'm not sure, I'm sure it's somebody else and someone will probably point it out, but it was like, if you're not paying for the service, you are the product.
Yes.
And the things people have been willing to do for privacy to just get more cat videos
Yep.
is very interesting.
Yep.
And that's when you're talking about corporations, they see us as products,
Yep.
right? We are widgets in the widget machine,
Mm-hmm.
and we are making them so much money. And every year the margins get smaller and smaller and smaller.
Mm-hmm.
And the space between people that do well and don't is just getting harder and harder to even it's like if you're not a multi-billionaire, you're just poor by the way that they
Hmm.
look at things, right? Because
Hmm.
even if like we're well-to-do, we're middle class, but we're one or two tragedies away from not having anything. Like
Hmm.
these people have never ever had to worry about paying for groceries,
Hmm.
right? You just don't have that. So you're totally right. And that's why storytelling and preserving your voice is so important. And
Hmm.
just the act of encouraging other people to write. We have an amazing Discord for world building for masochists. And when I'm feeling like shit, I go to the writing section and we encourage each other, you know? And it's
Yeah.
so important that we and I will write some days because someone is waiting for something or they, challenge me or whatever. And if you don't
Hmm.
have that community, you just, all the marketing in the world won't move anything. And again, it shouldn't be the point. You shouldn't make friends and community because you want to sell books,
Yeah.
right? It's more because you have this collective duty to tell stories,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And, that's why they burn the libraries first.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
know,
And
like
they ban the
knowledge
books.
is power at the end of the day. And it is kind of, it's a responsibility, like you said, duty. And it does take practice to step into
Hmm.
that. I don't want to call it an obligation. It's more like a commitment
Yeah.
to make a positive influence on the
Hmm.
world that you can reach.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes there is also power in quiet, right? There's shoring up your energy.
Yep.
And, not all of us can or will or need to be on the front lines. I will always be amazed at the people that are. Everyone's life is different. And I think we're so ready to judge everyone. There's a lot of virtue signaling. There's a lot of the stuff
Yes.
that really runkles me the wrong way. And so what I do is I just turn it off. I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna watch that stuff today. I'm gonna just
Yeah.
touch grass.
Yeah. I think there's a difference between virtue signaling and value signaling too.
Yes, yes,
And I
yes.
think like keep talking about value signaling in a lot of the panels and speeches that I'm doing, and just people aren't yet grasping onto what I'm
Hmm.
saying, because that's also how you find your people is through
Yes.
value signaling, and that's how your people find you. And it doesn't have to be like obvious like billboard sized value signaling. It can be as small as a necklace they're wearing. It can be
Hmm.
as small as just a word that they choose to use.
Yes. Yep.
And I think
Yep.
we are uniquely equipped as writers and creatives to pick up on nuance and
Hmm.
to pick up on,
Critical thinking skills. What?
well, also just people watching.
Yeah,
Like, we
that
are
too.
excellent people watchers. We are excellent observers because we know how to create a world. And so
Hmm.
we know what details create a world, right?
Yep.
And what
Yep.
details create a person.
Hmm. Yep.
So it's an
Well,
untapped skill, I think, a lot for writers.
yeah, and that reminds me of conversations I've had with my kids about ethics versus morals,
Hmm.
right? Morals being a socially like decided group of things that usually is influenced by religion or politics or things like that. And yes, there's some morals we generally agree on, but I mean, all of them are very fuzzy from country to country.
Yeah.
And then your ethics are like what you have decided at the core of you
Yeah.
is important or right or good. And
Yeah.
I'm not a religious person anymore, but I do believe that most of us know that kind of intuitively, especially as children. We're very emotional, very, interesting as kids, but it wears down over time. And we start thinking in terms of virtues and morals instead of values and ethics,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And that's sad.
Yeah. I mean, that also just kind of places it on our plate to model it
Yep. Yep. Yeah,
and be like,
absolutely.
all right, this is sacred duty.
Yeah, no, I mean, I have said this many times before this, even though I'm not a religious person, I'm a spiritual person, and it's very much a personal, organized religion burned me down to cinders almost, absolutely ruined me. And I will probably never be part of a community in that aspect because of trauma. Um, but I feel the closest to the divine when I'm in the act of creating.
Yeah.
That is my prayer,
Yeah.
that or being out in the middle of the woods with my dogs. But it's when I'm out there, it's also part of the writing process, right?
Yeah.
when I'm gardening, when I'm cooking food for people. These are very intimate, important moments in my life that, they can be spiritual. We've just been told that like spirituality is a very narrow defined thing.
Yeah.
And it's so much more amazing when you can like step back and say, no, so I love the word vocation because it literally
Mhm.
means a calling.
Yeah.
That's what it's like. What are you called by the gods to do?
Yeah.
I don't think Athena is up there necessarily directing my steps, but um, I felt compelled to write stories since I was in second grade.
Yeah.
And not many people can say that this is something that's followed them. And that's special. It's okay to realize that that's special. I
Yeah.
went through that whole period where I was like, I'm not special. I'm not that great, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, I'm not like full of myself, but I also have learned to sort of stand in my own expertise, my own experience, my own
Yeah.
talent,
Yeah.
right? Because you have to be your best cheerleader.
Yeah.
Because no one's going to write those words. I
Yeah.
mean, the AI could, but they're going to suck. So,
Yeah. And I think so many people get stuck on like, well, how do I market that? How
yeah.
do I make money off of that?
And
And
honey, if the money is here, what you want, find another business.
or just be creative with how the money comes in
Yes,
too. Because
yes,
we have
yes.
that absolutely amazing skill as creatives to be creative in our approaches to things.
Hmm.
It doesn't have to be one set formula to achieve X, Y, and Z, right?
Exactly.
And I think, you know, just this year alone, too, my relationship as to marketing has changed in the sense of like, all right, I'm no longer focused on selling. I'm focused on how I can make a positive impact on the world around
Yeah,
me. And some of that is through the fruits of my labors. Some of
exactly.
that is through the fruits of my mind. Some of it is through the fruits of my emotions and my heart
Hmm.
and my spirit, and those can come in different forms, those can take different
Hmm.
shapes. And I'm not worried about what the world is going to give me in exchange for that,
Right. Right.
you
And
know?
that's the really important part. And that's what I realized, like when I say that I shouldn't have just planned to arbitrarily publish a book at 30. And it's a good book. People still find me today and say that they loved it, which is wonderful. But it didn't fill the well. I almost quit writing 2 years after that, like almost entirely. And there were other factors, but I really wasn't sure if I could continue on this trajectory and balance having a mentally ill child who was in and out of hospitals and, everything else going on in my life and my husband losing his job and all of that. I eventually came around, but it was a friend who was like, John Hartness, who's the head editor over at Falstaff, and I'd met him at a convention, again, community, and we hit it off immediately. It was like, you are clearly my long lost brother. I don't have one, but apparently I do and you. And he just emailed me. He's like, we're doing a series of connected novels. Would you like to write one of them? And that got me back on track. It was one person just saying, I liked you. I liked your vibe. Can you contribute to this shared world? You know? And I wouldn't be I mean, I don't even know if I would still be writing if it wasn't for just that. It just hit at the right moment.
Yeah.
So it can give back to you. And that's why I think generosity is so important. Like you lose nothing by being generous.
Yeah.
As many have said, success is not a pie, right? Just because someone has a lot of success does not mean there's none left for you. And if you lift up other people around you, your collective power is so much more uh, profound. So
Mm. I almost want to leave it on that note. Like, I usually ask, what is the one thing that, like, one piece of advice that you would give our audience? But that is so poignant that I almost
yeah, it's
ask.
probably that. Yeah, I mean, find your community, but also be open. I think redefining what is success and redefining what you're capable of is really important. I will say, I never thought I'd be writing romance. I
Wow.
was such a bitch about romance. Like I I just didn't know. And then I read Kushiel's Dart, and then I started reading other things that were spicy and other fantasies, and I was like, well, I was wrong. I was
Mm,
absolutely wrong, and now I want to write these things.
mm,
So be open to being wrong. And it's been so rewarding to write cozy. It's hard. It was very hard to finish the last book because Queer Joy is very hard to summon up right now.
mm.
But um, I got so much out of that process by just opening up to the fact that, yeah, I do actually like romance. In fact, I think romance is some of the best writing that's out there right now. Um, and it's certainly the most popular. If it wasn't for romance, the entire book industry would collapse. So
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's a billion-dollar industry. Yeah.
wild.
I accidentally read my first romance novel in third grade.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and
That'll
I've
change the
been
brain chemistry.
hooked since then.
That's awesome, though. I was reading Stephen King way too early, like sixth, seventh grade. So it took me some time to get that out of my system.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
My parents were super, super conservative and very protective, but they didn't ever check what I was reading
Yeah, yeah. I
because they're
actually
not
picked up
readers.
the novel at a church rummage sale for $1.
There you go.
And
The
I just thought it
power of
was like
books.
a love story. I was
Yep.
like, I like love.
And look at us now, queering it up and writing all of our books.
Oh, yes, look how
We're the
far we've
worst
come.
nightmare of so many people. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, anything else you want to add before we start wrapping up?
No, I think that's about it. It's been lovely.
Yes, I love these discussions because like I learned something, the audience learns something, and it just adds another data set to
Hmm.
the conversation when people because people I run into so many writers who are just so stressed out
I
by the
know.
process, and I just feel for them so much, and I just want to offer them hope,
Yeah.
want to offer them options and be like, it doesn't have to be stressful if you don't want
Yeah.
it to be.
Oh, I mean, one of the hardest things is to tell someone, if you're struggling this much with this book, put it away.
Hmm.
If you're losing sleep and you hate it and you like start something else, there's so many books that are in my trunk that and some of them I wrote after other books that I published. They just, for whatever reason, didn't work. And it's okay to walk away from it, but it feels, especially those first few ones that you write,
Yeah.
they feel so, but don't be Gollum. Don't be like my precious over here. Learn to let it go. If it's meant to come back, it will. I mean, Queen of Dawn was a trunk novel for years. I wrote the first draft of it in 2010, and it's now all 15 years later, and I just finished the series, but I let it sit for like 8 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes it's
So,
like that.
but it wasn't the right time.
Yep.
And now is the right time.
Yep. Yep. Well, this is powerful stuff that we're talking about. An audience, we definitely encourage you to share your own thoughts, feelings,
Hmm.
stories, insights with us as well. We'd love to know how you've journeyed along this path. Are you in the stressed out category? Let us give you a collective hug.
Yes, it's okay.
Yes. Are you feeling lost and overwhelmed and unsure? Because join the club.
Yes, we've all been there.
And please do let us know if you have any questions. I know we travel a lot of different places when we are having this discussion. So if you need a glossary of terms or any explanation of anything, please do let us know. Special thanks to Natania for joining me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me here, Claire.
Yeah. So please comment, like, subscribe below. Check out Linktree/Claire Joyance for all of my links. And then where can folks find out more about you?
NataniaBarron.com is my website. I'm at Natania on Blue Sky. I'm Natania Books on TikTok, and then I'm also on Instagram as Natania Barron. So not as consistent as it could be, but
Yeah.
there's not a lot of Natanias out there, so it's pretty easy to find me. I do have a link tree as well.
Yeah.
It's Linktree/Natania Books. So
Yeah, and I'll make sure
it's
those
there.
links are in the show notes for easy
Fantastic.
access. So until next time, please remember that you all have extraordinary stories to share, and we're rooting for you as you use them to change the world for the better. Take care, guys.
Take care.